Friday at 9 on WOUB.
Tonight on Newswatch, the Federal Hocking School Board decides whether to keep the high school principal, and the community begs to keep him.
But I am standing here today to defend his position.
Plus, with rising concerns around the U.S. labor market and the economy, how you can help make the job hunt a little easier.
Uncertainty is always going to make it difficult to even digest information that you do have. And there is a lot of uncertainty around the economic situation right now.
And in sports, the hits keep coming for Ohio football, with another starter in the transfer portal. Newswatch starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Charlie Ehlenfeld.
And I'm Allison Patton. Welcome to Newswatch. Let's take it over to Steve Nedlick to see if spring is sticking around.
Yeah, guys, we've had a bit of a warming trend to start this week, and it is certainly not going away. Now, we've had these clear skies in the area, and we got about up to 60 degrees today. Now, we did have those clouds move out, and that's going to help us during the day get a lot of that heat into the area. But unfortunately, the lack of clouds is going to lead to very clear skies overnight, and it's going to allow for our lows to get into the low 30s, and that's additionally going to lead to a frost warning through a lot of southern Ohio. I mean, up towards Zanesville, all the way down to the Athens area, we have it all across southern Ohio. So be on the lookout for that if you have any plants that you want to take care of. Really make sure you get them inside tonight, otherwise they may end up not making it. Now, as we look into tomorrow, we again will have a few clouds sticking around, but that sun is really going to help heat us up, and we're going to have some warmer weather move into our area, and that's really going to be the tale of the story as we head into the weekend. But we are going to have some rain in the area. Stick around for my full forecast to find out when that'll be here.
Thanks, Steve. The Federal Hocking School Board voted 4-1 to not renew the contract of the popular high school principal.
The board discussed Principal Jake Amlin's contract renewal in executive session for 2.5 hours last night. It was standing room only at that meeting, with dozens of students and parents showing up in support of Amlin. Earlier in the day, students walked out of class in support of the principal. All speakers asked the board to renew Amlin's contract.
As for Mr. Amlin, everybody knows he and I have butted heads numerous times, but I am standing here today to defend his position.
Because of Mr. Amlin's support, I was accepted to 3 Ivy League schools and 5 top 20s.
The board didn't give a reason why they're not renewing his contract. WOUB has an interview scheduled with Amlin and will tell you what he has to say about the situation next week. WOUB has also followed the increasing funding issues in Southeast Ohio, and in a Newswatch special report, we're looking at what a second Trump administration means for our region.
While also looking at the future for Ohio schools at the state and local levels. Take a look.
The loss of any federal funding for any area of the state is going to be devastating.
President Donald Trump begins to dismantle the Department of Education, marking the end to a key resource for educators.
Leaving teachers, parents, and students to wonder, what is next?
In times like this, we do have to come together, think about what's best for students.
This story and more on a Newswatch special report, Southeast Ohio under a second Trump presidency.
Now, as you just saw, the Newswatch special report will air Monday at 6:30 right here on WOUB. You will also be able to stream and rewatch the special report on our YouTube channel.
A longer, in-depth podcast version from WOUB Digital will also come out Friday wherever you get your podcasts. Meigs residents can look forward to a new broadband internet in the area soon. The Meigs County Community Improvement Corporation and New Era Broadband are starting a new project that's expected to bring broadband to over 200 Meigs County homes.
The project received funding from the Appalachian Regional Commission and New Era Broadband. The areas the project will focus on are homes in Long Bottom and near Ohio Route 681 between Tuppers Plains and Reedsville. The project is expected to be done by the end of the year.
Governor Mike DeWine shares the plans to help support workers affected by the closure of the Pixel paper mill in Chillicothe. The paper mill announced that it would be closing yesterday, leaving over 1,000 Chillicothe residents without jobs. Governor DeWine says that the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services Rapid Response Team is reaching out to Pixel to set up rapid response sessions.
While impacted employees are not eligible for unemployment until their employment ends, they can take advantage of employment services at any time at ohiomeansjobs.com or their local Ohio Means Job Center. A new ruling from a federal judge says a law requiring social media and gaming sites to get permission from parents before letting any Ohioan under 16 onto their platforms cannot go into effect.
The Social Media Parental Notification Act was passed as a part of the state budget in 2023 and was set to become law last January. That was until NetChoice sued and the law was put on permanent pause. They argued the law was too broad and violated the First and 14th Amendments. Now, a federal judge has agreed with NetChoice and the law has been deemed unconstitutional. State lawmakers say they'll now try again targeting the app stores instead of the apps themselves.
The Trump administration could be facing another legal battle. A U.S. district judge ruled there's probable cause for White House officials to be held in criminal contempt for violating his orders to stop using the Alien Enemies Act to deport migrants. In a statement describing his decision, the judge wrote the U.S. government is demonstrating a, quote, willful disregard. The judge has not determined a potential penalty, and he's giving the Department of Justice time to respond. A different federal judge overseeing the case of a man mistakenly deported to El Salvador says she will allow for expedited fact-finding. She says this will help her determine if the Trump administration is complying with her order that it facilitated his return back to the U.S. In court hearings, the judge has expressed growing frustration at the responses, or lack thereof, coming from the Department of Justice lawyers. Laura Aguirre has more.
This is an unsustainable and unjust moment.
Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen in El Salvador today, hoping to get eyes on Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man whose deportation has set off a legal and constitutional rights firestorm. His request to the country's vice president went unfulfilled.
He said he was not able to make that happen.
The senator was also denied a phone call with Abrego Garcia, whose deportation case escalated to the Supreme Court last week, when all 9 justices voted unanimously to uphold a lower federal judge's ruling that the Trump administration worked for Abrego Garcia's return and access to due process.
The Supreme Court was clear. They must facilitate his release.
It's the use of that word facilitate in the federal judge's ruling upheld by the Supreme Court at the center of the Trump administration's argument to leave Abrego Garcia where he is, suggesting that facilitate means the U.S. won't block his entry if El Salvador decides to release him.
President Bukele said he was not sending him back. If he wanted to send him back, we would give him a plane ride back.
U.S. officials allege that Abrego Garcia is a member of the MS-13 gang. Abrego Garcia's attorneys dispute that claim. While the judicial fight plays out in the U.S., Senator Van Hollen says his trip today is only the beginning.
I may be the first United States senator to visit El Salvador on this issue, but there will be more, and there will be more members of Congress coming.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
President Donald Trump says he would, quote, love to deport violent American criminals to El Salvador, repeating a comment he made in the Oval Office earlier this week while sitting next to El Salvador's president. Julia Benbrook is at the White House with what was said and the concerns surrounding the president's comments.
President Donald Trump's recent comments suggesting the possibility of deporting United States citizens are causing concern and raising questions about the constitutional protections of incarcerated Americans. He made these comments the other day when El Salvador's president visited the Oval Office, adding that El Salvador, where Trump recently sent alleged Venezuelan gang members, may need to build more mega prisons in order to help. During an interview that aired Tuesday evening, Trump doubled down.
Could we use it for violent criminals, our own violent criminals?
I call them homegrown criminals.
Yes.
I mean, the
homegrowns.
The ones that grew up and something went wrong and they hit people over the head with a baseball bat. We have, and push people into subways just before the train gets there, like you see happening sometimes. We are looking into it and we want to do it. I would love to do that.
These comments come as there are concerns about the administration's rapid deportations. Following the wrongful deportation of Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran national, due to what a senior immigration and customs enforcement official called a, quote, administrative error. The federal judge overseeing his case is now looking to find out if the Trump administration is complying with her order to facilitate his return from one of El Salvador's notorious mega prisons. Reporting at the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
The Trump administration has revoked the visas of more than 600 international students, faculty, and researchers across at least 90 U.S. universities. That's according to a review of court filings, statements from attorneys, and announcements from schools around the U.S. It's not clear if all the students whose visas have been terminated have to immediately leave the country or if they can stay to continue their education. A new lawsuit in Atlanta alleges traffic stops and dismiss cases were used as justification for some of the revocations. It seeks to stop the revocation of the visas that haven't been affected and to reinstate those that have already been revoked.
In the latest retaliatory move in the trade war between Washington and Beijing, Hong Kong has suspended its postal services for packages to or from the United States. Hong Kong announced the decision today, citing Trump's decision last week to eliminate an exception for items posted from Hong Kong to the U.S. The exemption had applied to international shipments worth $800 or less entering the U.S. Hong Kong will stop accepting packages transported by sea immediately and stop taking airborne packages starting April 27th. Letters or other postal items containing only documents will not be affected. Companies and individuals in Hong Kong will now have to pay private carriers such as FedEx and DHL to deliver their packages. Americans haven't felt this anxious about unemployment since the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. That's according to a survey released this week by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. For those jumping into the job hunt now, economists say some sectors will be more steady than others. Karen Kafa has more.
The U.S. labor market has been resilient and robust, riding a more than 4-year streak of employment gains through March. But an increasing number of Americans feel that's going to change. Consumers surveyed by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York in March put a 44% probability on U.S. unemployment climbing higher within the next year. That's the highest level since April 2020, the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's another recent reading that points to consumer pessimism amid economic confusion.
Uncertainty is always going to make it difficult to even digest information that you do have. And there is a lot of uncertainty around the economic situation right now.
Allison Srivastav, economist with the Indeed Hiring Lab, says the uncertainty impacts businesses too. Companies may not lay workers off, but may hesitate to fill openings, potentially making the job hunt more challenging. Certain sectors, though, are driving forward. Among them, Srivastav says healthcare, legal, and production and manufacturing.
There are some bright spots in the economy, but things are a little bit on hold, and it's a little bit shaky when things are on hold. So planning for the future is difficult.
And for soon-to-be grads, Srivastav sees entry-level opportunities in in-person sectors like pharmacy, food services, and home health care.
That may not be a long-term goal for a lot of graduates. It does allow you to kind of get some experience on your resume until you can kind of figure out what your next steps are.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
May help with those suffering from migraines.
And temps are on the rise, so stay tuned to find out what that means for the rest of your week.
Katavi's drought imprisons all who stay. Even when rain arrives, relief is short-lived. The waters flood Katavi and pose new threats. Will these hunters survive until salvation comes?
Tonight at 8 on WOUB.
There are secrets buried in time. Until now. Walk in the footsteps of long-lost giants. As their hidden world comes to life.
I hear the echoes all through the meadows. Breathe in and let go. That sweet surrender. I've been running all through the it down, but I've got my will to survive. Rise up, rise up, rise up.
Together, we can make real change happen.
It was a beautiful day in Athens, Ohio today, as we saw a high near 60s today, and we did have some clear skies in the area, and that is due to this high pressure system that has begun moving into our area and really helped clear these skies out. Now, that is a good thing for one reason, as we don't really have a lot of rain on the radar, really nothing to worry about. But it does mean our overnight lows are going to dip into the low 30s, and that is going to mean that we have a frost advisory for much of southern Ohio. So again, make sure you get those plants inside if you want to keep anything alive. And then as we look into tomorrow morning, again, that high pressure system is really sitting over our area, so nothing to worry about on the morning commute, and then really nothing to worry about on the nighttime commute as we have that high pressure begin to move off, but again, nothing's really going to fill in behind it. And then tomorrow, we're going to see those temperatures still begin to rise as we reach the mid-60s today, and a few clouds in the area, but again, nothing much. But we're going to continue this warming trend as we head into the weekend and the end of the week. Now, you can see with this high pressure system, behind it is going to be this warm front that is just going to move into our area, and that is when we are going to see highs get near 80 as we get to Friday. It is also going to give us a little bit of clouds, some rain in the area, but we don't have to worry about that until Saturday, but it will start moving into the area, but it will be a very pleasant Friday. You would say maybe even a little hot. And then Friday night, we start to see this rain get into the area, and it'll start to bring a little bit of a cold front behind it, but we won't see that till about Saturday afternoon. So if you want to have any plans, like maybe getting some yard work done, mowing that grass, you really should probably get out there Friday night, Saturday morning early if you want to have any of those plans to get any of that done. And again, we're going to see a lot of this rain build up in the Midwest, and that's going to push into our area and give us a pretty rainy second half of our weekend, so be on the lookout for that. Taking a look at the beginning of next week, those temperatures are going to stay in the mid to low 70s, and we're going to see a little bit of a drop as we get to Tuesday, and those clouds are going to head out, but we will have a few clouds in the area. But this warming trend seems like it has turned the corner, and we are looking more like summertime temperatures as opposed to some springtime temperatures. But again, be on the lookout for those clouds as we move in to the middle of next week and this weekend. So make your plans accordingly and check your weather apps.
Thanks, Steve. An estimated 39 million people in the U.S. get migraines. It's a neurological disease, and while there are several treatment options, they don't work for everyone.
Mandy Gaither has a look at the new technology that may help migraine sufferers find relief.
It's a disabling disease that can significantly impact a person's life. Some migraine sufferers may find relief in medications or lifestyle changes, but not all of them.
There's still a number of individuals that get inadequate relief.
Cleveland Clinic neurologist Dr. Mary Ann Mays is medical advisor to MyHelper, a company that's designed an investigational drug-free device not currently FDA approved. She's lead author of a study researching the device that was presented last week at the American Academy of Neurology annual meeting. The technology uses dry or dehumidified room temperature air to cool the nasal passage, which Mays says helps stop the activation of the part of the brain that's turned on during a migraine. 128 adult study participants who reported having multiple migraine attacks used the self-administered device at home to treat a single attack. 44 others used a sham device.
47% of individuals in the study reported complete pain freedom at 2 hours compared to only 16% in the sham group. So that was quite clinically significant and exciting to see.
Mays says of those studied who were pain-free after 2 hours, 41% remained that way for 24 hours and didn't need additional rescue medications.
Our hope is that the study will be concluded by November 2025, that we'll have some of the data, and that the company can submit for approval of the device in 2026.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Next in sports, Ohio football's defense has taken yet another hit. How should the Bobcats proceed with a week left in spring practice? Find out when we return.
All over the world, hatred and Holocaust denial are on the rise. And as we reach a moment when the last survivors are passing on, it's now up to us historians to make sure that the full enormity of what happened will always be remembered.
Auschwitz did not fall from the sky. It comes step by step. Evil comes step by step.
Tuesday at 9 on WOUB.
Next time on the Vietnam War.
We were acting as bait. Go walk in the woods and draw fire.
U.S. troops feel the strain of a different kind of war.
We keep getting more and more operations thrown at us. I may take a 15-day leave to Tokyo to keep from cracking up.
As the anti-war movement gains momentum back home.
That was the biggest crowd any of us had ever been in.
When the Vietnam War continues.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
For intelligent, insightful reporting.
Were you surprised that they were using Signal to talk about really sensitive stuff?
There have been screw-ups in Washington since time immemorial, but I can't think of one quite like this.
Join moderator Jeffrey Goldberg and the country's best journalists for incisive analysis of the most consequential stories.
There's been a lot of soul-searching on the Democrat side about what went wrong.
Once these tariffs go in, the question becomes how long they will stick to this policy and what will be the breaking point.
Imagine a world where nature thrives. Paradise. If we want to live here too, we must find ways to be a force for good throughout the natural world and build a future with nature.
Tonight at 10 on WOUB.
Spring transfer portal in college football is open. It's been a grim reminder of what the future could look like for the Ohio Bobcats. Last year's portal completely decimated the 2023 team. It's now affected the 2024, soon to become 2025 team. There's no end in sight. And look, I'll be quite frank, there needs to be a fix fast. The 11-win MAC champions shouldn't have to rebuild their roster on a year-to-year basis without some kind of incentive for producing all of these talented players. Now, this all comes in wake of another transfer departing from last year's defensive line. Last week, I showed you guys this exact same graphic and said, oh, Braylon Henderson will show some continuity, but now the entire front six from the MAC championship game's gone. There's going to be 6 new faces there come August. With the spring portal closing next Friday and spring practice concluding Saturday, Ohio has to act fast. This is what you're looking like right now for next season. It's not exactly pretty. Casey Seegers is probably your best returner out of this group, while Michael Monner, Walter Bobb, Jack Freese, they showed some promise. Right now, there's a grand total of 3 defensive tackles on scholarship. Good news for Ohio softball. They bounced back in the biggest way possible with a doubleheader sweep at Bowling Green yesterday. It comes at a pivotal part of the season. The other Northwest Ohio team came to Athens last weekend as Toledo stole the series from Ohio, but the Bobcats regained some momentum with this sweep. Game 1 was a 10-1 blowout, so here's a closer look at the game 2. Bobcats pulled ahead with their backs against the wall in the 7th inning. Now, the biggest regular season game in a long, long time stares Ohio in the face this weekend. Bobcats' arch rival, yes, that one, Miami, comes to town starting Friday for a 3-game set that if the Bobcats win, they can take control of the MAC for the rest of the way. Both teams sit 1 and 2 in the conference. A true Titan matchup awaits in just 2 days. Bad news for Ohio baseball, who were also on the road yesterday. It was yet another game where the bats were hot, but the bullpen struggled en route to another loss. Dayton took game 1 of the 2-game season series earlier in the season and added their 21st win of 2025. 6 players drove in runners throughout the game for the Flyers. It was yet another good game for Matt Einek at the very least, but he's one of the very few having a season that he wants to remember in Athens. One of those wanting to forget this season as soon as possible is head skipper Craig Moore, who hasn't had the best tenor at the helm at Bob Red Stadium, as the Bobcats are virtually eliminated from MAC tournament contention for the 3rd straight season. Not a great feat in a contract year for Moore. There's magic in the making just up US 33 as the Columbus Blue Jackets are on the verge of accomplishing something that seemed nearly impossible just 2 weeks ago. The Stanley Cup playoffs are within reach for Columbus, but they're going to need some help to get there. Your rooting guide is for the Montreal Canadiens to lose tonight to Carolina. Sports director Andrew Bolby's not going to be happy about that one, but it can't go to overtime. Same thing tomorrow night, except you can just root for the Blue Jackets and nothing else. To stay up to date with everything Ohio Bobcats and sports in Southeast Ohio, look, you know the drill at this point. Go to woub.org/sports. Let's send it back to Allison.
Thanks. Still ahead, scientists spend almost a decade working to recreate this map of a mammal's brain.
In some ways, Portsmouth was one of the last small cities to field a team and get a franchise. What was kind of extraordinary about Portsmouth was it was able to field an incredible team. For a brief moment in the sun, a little sweet spot that almost was sweet enough to get them a national championship, but they put together the team that ultimately did win the championship in 1935 in Detroit.
The loss of any federal funding for any area of the state is going to be devastating.
President Donald Trump begins to dismantle the Department of Education, marking the end to a key resource for educators.
Leaving teachers, parents, and students to wonder, what is next?
In times like this, we do have to come together, think about what's best for students.
This story and more on a Newswatch special report, Southeast Ohio under a second Trump presidency.
Did you know that you can donate property to WOUB Public Media? I'm WOUB Community Engagement and Membership Manager Sherry Russo. Donating property is a great way to support WOUB, and you may even claim a significant tax deduction. Properties in any location, condition, and format are eligible for donation to WOUB. Back taxes, mortgage balances, and deferred maintenance do not prohibit your ability to donate. Our program covers all loans, liens, commissions, and closing costs, so long as there is equity in the property. If you have a land, residential, or commercial real estate asset that's unused or costing you money, consider giving back to the station you love by donating it to WOUB. And the process is easy. Go to WOUB.org and click the Support tab to learn about property donations, along with many other ways to support WOUB.
Scientists have used a speck of mouse brain matter to create the first precise three-dimensional map of a mammal's brain. This advanced 3D map shows the form, function, and activity of 84,000 neurons, as well as 200,000 brain cells and 500 million synapses. The tiny piece of tissue contained nearly 3.5 miles of wiring. It took almost a decade of research by 150 scientists at 22 institutions. The digital scan gives scientists a view of how certain parts of the mouse brain is organized, but it represents only 1/500th of the full volume of a mouse's brain.
3.5 miles, that's insane.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
A little baby mouse.
And it's not even the whole brain. I mean, I can't even imagine how long the full thing is with all the wiring included.
Right. Now, let's take it over to weather. Steve, I know it's supposed to frost tonight, but when can people buy their plants and leave them outside?
You know, it all really hinges on those clouds that we have in the area. You know, they act as a little bit of a blanket. So tonight, for example, we don't have that blanket around, so it's going to be pretty chilly with an overnight low of 33, and again, those clear skies. As we head into the end of this week, we are going to see some clouds moving into the area, but we are also going to see a warming trend. We're going to get into the 80s, but again, those clouds are there, and this time they're going to bring a little bit of rain. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we all got a chance for some of that rain. It's not again until Tuesday until we see that break in rain. But again, those clouds are in the area, so it could help those plants be able to stay outside, as we won't see those overnight lows quite dip to that level.
Well, I'm really excited to see these warmer temperatures.
Oh, so am I. You know.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for watching. That does it for our broadcast. For Steve Nedlick and Grant Kiefer, I'm Allison Patton.
And I'm Charlie Ehlenfeld. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. Have a great night.
We're on the precipice of a great discovery.